Hi friends, I'm Mita Case from the Flower Shop, and today we are going to be making the brand new Checkerboard cake kit. I am so excited about this. I'm such a huge fan of Checkerboard, whether it's on my shoes or on my cakes. I don't know, I love them all. Checkerboard cake comes with everything you see here, except for me, but don't worry, I'm gonna walk you through it. Let's get started. A few things I find helpful to have ready to go are your butter, your cream cheese for your frosting, and 2 eggs and some milk. I'm going to use 3 different 6-inch Gold Touch pans. If you don't have 3, it's okay, you'll work with 1, and you'll just keep swapping it out every time it's ready. I'm going to start with the cake first, that way we can pop that into the oven because I've already preheated it to 350 degrees. I'm gonna start with my room temperature butter, and this way we can get nice and fluffy butter. Mix that up first. Okay, once that is nice and fluffy, and you want to make sure that basically there's no big chunks in it, because now we're going to add our eggs one at a time. I'm gonna start by putting in a little bit of the cake mix, just 1/3 of it. Now we're adding half of the milk, and we'll pour in 1/3 again. The rest of the milk. Last cake mix. You don't want to overmix it. You want to make sure you're mixing it just enough to get all of your ingredients nice and blended together. Just remember, we're going to mix more as we add the food coloring. Okay, so now that we have our batter ready, I have my 3 different bowls here. I'm using a clear bowl just so I can sort of get really low and see where we're at and make sure they're pretty even. But don't worry if it's not perfect, because number 1, we're having fun, you get to eat it, but number 2, we are going to be able to trim the top off. So as long as we get it even-ish. Now for some fun stuff. A little something about the food coloring. These are gel-based. You need very, very little of it to actually get very vibrant colors. I'm gonna start with my pink. 1, 2. I myself go for a vibrant color every single time. The color tends to get the tiniest bit darker when it's baking, but mostly on the edges and on top. But the real color is going to be the inside, so it'll be pretty close to what you're looking at. Food coloring to me is kind of like salt. You want to start with less and keep adding more because you can never take it away. Okay. There you have it, purple, orange, and pink. We're going to put them into our pans. Now, a little bit about Gold Touch pans is they're non-stick and they're amazing and they bake evenly, so you don't need to do much to them. So now I'm gonna pour my cake batter straight in to my baking pan. And I'm just gonna do a little wiggle just to make sure it's nice and even. Tap out a few of the bubbles out. Oh, it's my favorite color, can you tell? Give it a little wiggle, tap, tap, tap. You can see some of the little bubbles come out. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And pop these into the oven for about 17 to 20 minutes, and then we'll get started on our frosting. So I'm gonna start with room temperature butter. Here we go. Now I'm gonna add the cold cream cheese straight from the fridge because there's just a beautiful balance between the 2 temperatures that makes it easier to work with when you actually start frosting. You wanna make sure to scrape the sides down, make sure that your butter and your cream cheese have incorporated really nicely and become one. You can't tell what was butter and what was cream cheese. They're best friends. Up next, I'm gonna start putting in some of the frosting mix. A little more. And here we go. Look at this beautiful, beautiful cream cheese frosting. Now that my cakes are cooled, I'm going to pop them out. Look at that, so easy. So easy. Okay, beautiful. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a serrated knife. We're just gonna cut off just enough to level an even cake. So I'm not applying a ton of pressure. I'm just kind of going sideways to the size of the edges. Baking snacks. Told you about these cookie cutters and now it's time to use them. We're going to cut a center out of it, but what I like to do is just sort of measure and gauge that I am pretty centered. And then we're just gonna push it down. We're gonna do the same thing for all three. This cake is so fluffy. Okay, I'm just gonna line them up. Look at how beautiful this is. It's just such a fluffy cake. So now you just mix and match. So I'm gonna do a little bit of this, and then we'll just keep alternating and make sure that we have all three colors. Now that we've done that, let's stack it and frost it. So I'm gonna start with putting a little bit down on my board, just a little spread just so that it doesn't move around as you're frosting it. And once again, I want to center it before I press down. Now I'm going to press down a little bit, put another little layer of frosting, just like that. And you don't want to use too much frosting because remember, we're actually just using frosting as a glue between the layers so that when you cut it, rather than seeing cake and frosting layered, you're seeing a full checkerboard. But you still want it to be delicious. And our last one. Okay, last one. Looking good. So I'm gonna do a light crumb coat, just enough to cover all the edges here. And then we are going to pop it into the fridge for about 20 minutes, just to seal in all these crumbs and make sure that we have a beautiful surface to work with. Now that we've let that crumb coat cool, you can see it's a sturdier cake. It's really nice. I'm gonna use the rest of my frosting just to finish it off and make sure you don't see into the cake. There we go. I'm a cake DJ. What I like to do is go all the way around, make sure we've covered all the sides. And then on top, I like to just push all of the frosting sort of out to the edges, make sure we're covering those little gaps. I like to try and make sure that I'm sealing also just these little holes in the bottom of the cake. And the reason I do that is anytime that you put cake in the fridge and there's little holes to it, the air in the fridge starts to dry out the crumb of the cake. Frosting is sort of acting as a protector to keep your cake super moist. There's so many ways you could decorate this cake, but you know me, I love an edge. So I'm just going to start scooping it all around the sides. So pretty. And you can see it's like my favorite tool is my hand, so. And I'm just cleaning off the board any excess because we want all these sprinkles to get caught here. There we go. Just like to pat it down, make sure we get all the edges. This is why we put frosting on the board. Okay, let's cut this open. How beautiful this cake is. Ta-da! The Checkerboard Cake Kit, along with our other baking kits, are available on williamsonoma.com. I don't know about you, but I'm just going to start eating this cake right now.